"He is not coming," Olivia whispered, her voice breaking on the last word. She could feel the weight of every eye in that church, could hear the scandalized murmurs rising like a tide around her. The dress her mother had worn 30 years ago when she married Olivia's father suddenly felt too tight, suffocating, a reminder of happy beginnings that her own wedding would never have. Her father, Gerald Morrison, owner of the largest cattle ranch within 50 miles of Golden, looked like he wanted to put his fist through the altar. "I will kill that boy," he said through clenched teeth. "I will hunt him down and make him pay for this disgrace." But Olivia knew the truth in her bones. Thomas was not coming back. He had taken her heart, her reputation, and her dignity with him when he rode out of town sometime in the night. She had given him everything, trusted him with her future, and he had repaid that trust with the cruelest abandonment imaginable. "I need to leave," Olivia said, pulling away from her father. "I cannot stand here anymore. I cannot face them." She gathered the voluminous skirts of her mother's dress and ran. She ran down the aisle while gasps and shocked exclamations followed her like stones thrown at her back. She burst through the church doors into the bright Colorado sunshine, nearly colliding with a tall figure on the wooden steps. Strong hands caught her by the shoulders, steadying her. "Whoa there, miss. Easy now." Olivia looked up through the tears blurring her vision and saw the most striking man she had ever encountered. He was tall and lean with sun-bronzed skin and dark hair that curled slightly at the edges beneath his dusty Stetson. His eyes were a deep brown, warm and concerned as they took in her tear-stained face and elaborate wedding dress. He wore the practical clothes of a working cowboy, trail dust coating his boots and denim pants, a worn leather vest over a simple cotton shirt. "Are you hurt?" he asked, his voice gentle despite the rough edge of someone who spent more time with horses than people. "Let me go," Olivia managed, trying to pull away, but her legs suddenly felt weak. The shock and humiliation were catching up with her, and the world tilted dangerously. The cowboy caught her before she could fall, sweeping her up into his arms as easily as if she weighed nothing. "I have got you," he said firmly. "You are safe." "Put me down," Olivia protested weakly, but she had no strength left. Her father and several other men came rushing out of the church, and the cowboy carefully set her on her feet, keeping one steadying arm around her waist. "What happened here?" the cowboy asked, looking at Gerald Morrison. "None of your damned business," Gerald snapped. "Step away from my daughter." The cowboy released Olivia immediately but did not move far. "I meant no disrespect, sir." The lady nearly fell. Olivia's mother, Catherine, pushed through the crowd, her face pale with distress. "Olivia, darling, come inside. We need to tell everyone to go home." "No," Olivia said, finding her voice at last. "I will not go back in there. I will not face them. I want to go home." "Then that is what we will do," Catherine said firmly, wrapping her arm around her daughter's shoulders. She looked at the cowboy with grateful eyes. "Thank you for helping her, young man." The cowboy tipped his hat. "My pleasure, madam. I am sorry for whatever trouble has befallen you all today." As Olivia's parents led her toward their carriage, she glanced back at the stranger. He was watching her with an expression of such genuine concern that something in her chest tightened. Then her mother was helping her into the carriage, and the church and the mysterious cowboy disappeared from view. The ride back to the Morrison ranch was silent except for Olivia's quiet sobs. The dress that had meant so much, the dress her mother had lovingly altered to fit her, now felt like a mockery. When they arrived home, Olivia went straight to her room and tore the dress off, leaving it in a heap on the floor before collapsing onto her bed in her cotton chemise and crying until she had no tears left. Over the next 3 days, Olivia barely left her room. Her mother brought her food that went mostly uneaten. Her father stomped around the house in a fury, sending ranch hands into town to search for any sign of Thomas Whitmore, but the man had vanished completely. Rumor had it he had debts, gambling debts that he had hoped to erase by marrying into the Morrison fortune. When those debts became too pressing, he had apparently fled to California or perhaps even Mexico. On the fourth day after the wedding that never was, Olivia finally emerged from her room. She could not hide forever. She had to face the world eventually, even if that world now saw her as the pathetic girl who could not even keep her groom at the altar. She found her father in his study, going over ledgers with a frown. He looked up when she entered, and his expression softened. "Olivia, how are you feeling?" "Like I want to disappear," she said honestly, sinking into the chair across from his desk. "Father, everyone in Golden knows what happened. I cannot show my face in town." "You have nothing to be ashamed of," Gerald said firmly. "Thomas Whitmore is the coward, not you. He is the one who should be ashamed." "But I am the one who has to live with the consequences," Olivia said bitterly. "I am the one everyone will whisper about. Poor Olivia Morrison left at the altar. No man will want me now." "Any man worth having will see your value," Gerald insisted. "You are beautiful, intelligent, and kind. Thomas was a fool." Olivia wanted to believe him, but the pain was too fresh, the humiliation too raw. She excused herself and went outside, needing fresh air and space to breathe. She walked past the barn and the corrals toward the small creek that ran through their property, a place where she had always found peace. As she approached the creek, she heard voices and the sound of horses. Curious, she moved closer and saw several ranch hands working with a new string of horses in a temporary corral near the water. And there, directing the work with calm confidence, was the cowboy from the church steps. Olivia froze, unsure whether to retreat or continue forward. Before she could decide, one of the ranch hands noticed her and tipped his hat. "Miss Morrison, good to see you out and about." The cowboy turned at the mention of her name, and his eyes widened in recognition. He immediately removed his hat and approached her. "Miss Morrison, I did not realize this was your family's ranch. I was hired on yesterday as a horse breaker and trainer." "Oh," Olivia said, feeling suddenly self-conscious in her simple calico dress, her hair in a single braid down her back instead of the elaborate styles she usually wore. "I did not know Father was hiring." "My name is Samuel Xavier," the cowboy said. "Though most folks just call me Sam, I am truly sorry about what happened at the church. I did not mean to intrude on a private moment." "You did not intrude," Olivia said quietly. "You kept me from falling." "I should thank you for that." Sam's brown eyes were kind as he studied her face. "You look better than you did the other day, more color in your cheeks." Olivia felt herself blushing. "I have been hiding in my room like a coward." "That does not make you a coward," Sam said gently. "Sometimes we need time to heal our wounds before we can face the world again. There is no shame in that." His understanding threatened to bring tears to her eyes again, but Olivia blinked them back. "What brings you to Colorado, Mr. Xavier? You do not sound like you are from around here." "I am from Texas originally," Sam explained. "But I have been drifting for a while now, working ranches across the territory. I heard your father was looking for someone good with horses, and I happened to be passing through Golden, so I thought I would apply for the job." "Are you running from something?" Olivia asked, then immediately regretted the blunt question. "I apologize, that was rude." Sam smiled slightly. "Not at all. It is a fair question. I am not running from the law or anything like that, if that is what you are worried about. I lost my family in a fever outbreak 5 years ago. Parents, 2 brothers and a sister all gone within a month. After that, I could not stand to stay in the place that held so many memories, so I have been moving ever since." "I am so sorry," Olivia said, her own heartbreak suddenly feeling small in comparison to such devastating loss. "That must have been terrible." "It was," Sam admitted. "But time helps, and keeping busy helps. Working with horses, they do not care about your past or your pain. They just want you to be honest and patient with them." Olivia watched as one of the young horses in the corral tossed its head and pranced nervously. "That bay looks spirited." "She is," Sam agreed, "but she will make a fine riding horse once she learns to trust people. She just needs someone to show her that not all humans will hurt her." Something about the way he said it made Olivia wonder if he was talking about more than just the horse. She spent another few minutes watching the men work before excusing herself and heading back to the house. But she found herself thinking about Samuel Xavier for the rest of the day. Over the following weeks, Olivia saw Sam often around the ranch. He was an early riser, always at work with the horses before dawn and often continuing until well after sunset. He had a gift with the animals, a patient gentleness that seemed to calm even the most skittish creatures. Olivia found herself drawn to the corrals more and more often, watching him work. At first, Sam seemed surprised by her presence, but he never asked her to leave. Instead, he would explain what he was doing with each horse, his voice low and soothing as he described the process of earning their trust. Olivia found his company peaceful in a way nothing else had been since the disaster of her non-wedding. "You have a gift," she told him one afternoon, as he successfully led a previously wild Mustang around the corral on a loose lead rope. "I have never seen anyone gentle horses the way you do." Sam shrugged, patting the Mustang's neck. "It is not about breaking them. It is about building a partnership. Horses are smart. They know when you respect them, and they will give you respect in return." "I wish people were more like that," Olivia said quietly. Sam looked at her over the horse's back, his expression thoughtful. "Some people are, the ones worth keeping around anyway." "How can you tell which ones are worth it?" Olivia asked. "I thought I knew Thomas. I thought he loved me. I was clearly wrong about everything." Sam was quiet for a long moment as he ran his hand down the Mustang's shoulder. "My pa used to say that you judge a person's character not by what they say or how they act when things are easy, but by what they do when things get hard. A person who runs when trouble comes is not someone you can build a life with." "Thomas ran," Olivia said bitterly. "He did," Sam agreed, "and that tells you everything you need to know about him. His loss is my blessing, though." Olivia blinked in surprise. "What do you mean?" Sam's ears turned slightly red, and he suddenly became very focused on adjusting the horse's lead rope. "I just mean that if he had been a better man, I would not have the pleasure of your company these afternoons. You would be married and living in town, and I would just be another ranch hand you never spoke to." Something warm unfurled in Olivia's chest at his words. She had been so wrapped up in her humiliation and pain that she had not noticed the way Sam's face lit up when she approached the corrals, or the way he always seemed to be watching for her arrival. But now, seeing the blush on his weathered cheeks and the shy hope in his eyes, she realized that Samuel Xavier was interested in her as more than just his employer's daughter. The realization terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. She was not ready for another romance, not when the wounds from Thomas's betrayal were still so fresh. But at the same time, being around Sam made her feel alive in a way she had not felt in weeks. He made her laugh with stories about stubborn horses and close calls on the trail. He listened when she talked about her dreams of traveling beyond Colorado, of seeing the ocean someday. He treated her not as a fallen woman or an object of pity, but as a person whose thoughts and feelings mattered. As July turned into August, Olivia found herself spending more and more time with Sam. Her parents noticed but said nothing, perhaps hoping that the young cowboy's attentions would help their daughter heal. Olivia helped Sam with the gentler horses, learning how to read their body language and communicate with them through touch and voice. She discovered that she had a knack for it, and the horses responded well to her quiet presence. One sweltering afternoon, Sam suggested they take a ride up into the foothills where it would be cooler. Olivia agreed eagerly, desperate to escape the heat and the suffocating memories that seemed to linger in every corner of the ranch house. She changed into her riding clothes and met Sam at the barn, where he had saddled a gentle mare for her and his own sturdy gelding for himself. They rode out across the golden grassland, the Rocky Mountains rising majestically to the west. The air was clearer up in the hills, scented with pine and sage. Sam led them to a small meadow beside a clear stream, where they dismounted and let the horses drink and graze. "This is beautiful," Olivia said, turning in a slow circle to take in the view. Golden lay spread out in the valley below, looking small and insignificant against the vast landscape. "I found it last week while tracking a couple of horses that had wandered off," Sam said, settling onto a flat rock near the stream. "Thought you might like it." Olivia sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders nearly touched. "Thank you for bringing me here. I needed to get away." "How are you doing?" Sam asked. "Really doing, I mean, not the polite answer you give when folks in town ask." Olivia considered the question carefully. "Better than I was. The pain is still there, but it is more like a bruise now instead of an open wound. I am angry more than hurt, I think. Angry at Thomas for being such a coward, angry at myself for not seeing what he really was." "You should not be angry at yourself," Sam said firmly. "People like Thomas, they are good at hiding their true nature. They show you what they think you want to see. That is not your fault." "Maybe," Olivia said, "but I still feel foolish." Sam reached over and gently took her hand, his calloused palm warm against hers. "You are one of the smartest people I have ever met, Olivia, and one of the kindest. What happened does not change that." Olivia's breath caught at the use of her first name, at the sincerity in his voice. She looked up at him and found him watching her with an intensity that made her heart race. "Sam," she whispered, not sure what she wanted to say. "I know it is too soon," Sam said quietly. "I know you are still healing, but I want you to know that I see you, Olivia. Not the girl who got left at the altar, not poor Olivia Morrison. I see a beautiful, strong woman who has survived something terrible and is still standing. And I think you are remarkable." Tears pricked at Olivia's eyes, but these were different from the bitter tears she had cried over Thomas. These were tears of relief, of being truly seen and valued. "You barely know me," she said. "I know enough," Sam replied. "I know that you are patient with nervous horses and kind to the ranch hands. I know that you have a quick laugh and a sharp mind. I know that you love your family even when you are frustrated with them. I know that you have dreams bigger than this valley, and I know that every time I see you, my day gets better." "Sam," Olivia said again, and this time she squeezed his hand. I am afraid of trusting again, of being hurt again." "I know," Sam said. "And I am not asking you to trust me right away. I am just asking for a chance to prove myself to you. Take all the time you need. I will be here." Olivia studied his face, seeing nothing but honesty and hope in his expression. Samuel Xavier was nothing like Thomas Whitmore. Thomas had been smooth and charming, always saying the right things but never quite backing them up with actions. Sam was quieter, more reserved, but his actions spoke louder than any words. He showed up every day and did the work. He was patient with the horses and respectful to everyone he encountered. He had seen her at her absolute lowest moment and had not turned away. "All right," Olivia said softly. "A chance. I can give you that." Sam's face broke into a genuine smile, and Olivia realized it was the first time she had seen him truly smile. It transformed his whole face, making him look younger and infinitely more approachable. "Thank you," he said. "You will not regret it, I promise." They sat by the stream for another hour, talking about everything and nothing. Sam told her more about his childhood in Texas, about learning to ride before he could properly walk and helping his father break horses for the army. Olivia told him about her own childhood, about losing her younger brother to diphtheria when she was 10, and how it had made her parents overprotective of her, their only surviving child. As the sun began to sink lower in the sky, they reluctantly mounted their horses and headed back to the ranch. When they arrived, Sam helped Olivia dismount, his hands lingering at her waist for just a moment longer than necessary. Their eyes met, and Olivia felt that flutter in her chest again, that mix of fear and anticipation. "Thank you for today," she said. "Anytime," Sam replied. "Truly. Anytime you need to escape, just find me." Over the next several weeks, Olivia and Sam spent nearly every free moment together. They took rides into the hills, worked with the horses side by side, and shared quiet conversations in the evening after the day's work was done. Gerald Morrison watched this development with mixed feelings. On one hand, he was glad to see his daughter happy again. On the other hand, Samuel Xavier was just a cowboy, a drifter with no land or prospects beyond his wages. Catherine was more encouraging. "He is a good man," she told her husband when he expressed his concerns. "And he makes our daughter smile again. That is worth more than money or position." She could have any man she wanted, Gerald argued, men with established ranches with money and influence. "She could have had Thomas Whitmore, and look how that turned out," Catherine countered. "Sometimes the safe choice is not the right choice. Sam has shown more character in 2 months than Thomas showed in a year of courtship." Gerald could not argue with that, though he was not entirely convinced. But he saw how Olivia bloomed under Sam's attention, how she laughed more easily and walked with her head high again. And when he observed Sam with the horses and the other ranch hands, he had to admit the young man was a hard worker with an honest character. In early September, the ranch hosted a barn dance to celebrate the end of the summer work season. The whole community was invited, and despite her initial reluctance, Olivia agreed to attend. She wore a simple green dress that brought out the color of her hazel eyes, and she let her mother help her pin her long brown hair into an elegant twist. When she descended the stairs, Sam was waiting at the bottom. He had cleaned up for the occasion, wearing dark trousers and a crisp white shirt with his best vest. His hair was still slightly damp from washing, and he looked so handsome that Olivia's breath caught. "You look beautiful," Sam said, his voice slightly awed. "You clean up pretty well yourself," Olivia replied with a smile. The barn had been decorated with paper lanterns and wildflowers, and a small group of musicians were tuning their instruments in the corner. Ranch hands and neighboring families were already arriving, bringing food and drinks to share. Olivia tensed when she saw some of the women from town, the ones who had been at the church that terrible day, but Sam seemed to sense her discomfort. He took her hand and led her to the dance floor just as the music started. "Dance with me," he said. It was not quite a question, but his eyes asked for permission anyway. Olivia nodded and let him take her in his arms. They moved together to the lively fiddle tune, and Olivia felt the eyes of the crowd on them but found that she did not care as much as she thought she would. Let them whisper. Let them gossip. She was here with a man who valued her, who saw her as more than just a scandal or a failed engagement. As the evening wore on, Olivia danced with Sam more than anyone else, though her father insisted on one dance and several of the younger ranch hands politely asked as well. But it was Sam she kept returning to. Sam whose smile made her heart race. Sam whose hand in hers felt like home. Near midnight, they slipped outside for some fresh air. The September night was cool and clear, stars scattered across the sky like diamonds on black velvet. They walked away from the barn toward the corral where Sam's favorite horses dozed peacefully. "Thank you for tonight," Olivia said. "I was dreading this, but you made it bearable, more than bearable." "I am just glad you gave me all those dances," Sam said with a grin. "I was worried I would have to fight off half the county for your attention." "You are the only one I wanted to dance with," Olivia admitted. Then, gathering her courage, she added, "You are the only one I want, period." Sam turned to face her fully, his expression serious in the moonlight. "Olivia, are you sure? I do not have much to offer you. I am just a cowboy with some savings and a good reputation with horses. I do not have land or a fancy house. But I can promise you that I will work hard every day to make you happy. I will never leave you. I will never betray you. I will stand by you through whatever life brings." "That is all I need," Olivia said, her voice trembling with emotion. Thomas had money and prospects, and it meant nothing because he did not have character. "You have shown me more loyalty and kindness in 2 months than he showed me in a year. I do not need a fancy house, Sam. I just need you." Sam reached up and gently cupped her face in his hands. "Can I kiss you?" he asked softly. "Yes," Olivia whispered. He leaned down slowly, giving her time to change her mind, but she did not want to. When his lips finally met hers, it was gentle and sweet and nothing like the demanding kisses Thomas had stolen. This was a question and an answer, a promise and a prayer. Olivia's arms went around Sam's neck, and she kissed him back with all the hope and affection she had been holding inside. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Sam rested his forehead against hers. "I am falling in love with you, Olivia Morrison. I think I have been since the moment I caught you on those church steps." "I am falling in love with you too," Olivia confessed. "And it terrifies me, but it also feels so right." They stood together under the stars for a long time, holding each other and talking quietly about the future. Sam admitted that he had been saving his wages carefully, hoping to someday buy a small piece of land where he could start his own horse breeding operation. Olivia told him about her dream of building a life with someone who truly loved her, of having children and creating a home filled with laughter instead of just obligation. "We could do that together," Sam said carefully, "if you would want to." "I know I should probably wait longer before saying this, but I do not want to waste any more time. I know what I want, and I want you. Will you marry me, Olivia?" Olivia's heart pounded in her chest. It had only been 4 months since she stood in that church waiting for Thomas. 4 months since she had been utterly humiliated and broken. But Sam had helped her heal, had shown her that not all men were cowards, that real love was built on respect and honesty and showing up every single day. "Yes," she said, surprising herself with how certain she felt. "Yes, I will marry you, Sam." Sam let out a whoop of joy and picked her up, spinning her around as she laughed. When he set her down, he kissed her again, deeper this time, with all the passion and promise of their future together. They decided to tell Olivia's parents the next morning. Catherine was delighted, immediately pulling Olivia into a tight hug and welcoming Sam into the family. Gerald was more reserved, asking to speak with Sam privately in his study. Olivia paced nervously in the parlor while her father and her fiancé talked. Catherine tried to reassure her that everything would be fine, but Olivia could not help worrying. What if her father refused to give his blessing? What if he thought Sam was not good enough? After what felt like hours but was probably only 30 minutes, the study door opened. Gerald emerged first, his expression stern, followed by a nervous-looking Sam. Then Gerald's face broke into a smile. "Well, daughter, it seems you have chosen well this time. Sam has my blessing." Olivia rushed to hug her father, relief flooding through her. "Thank you, Papa, thank you." "He is a good man," Gerald said quietly into her hair, "and he clearly loves you. That is all I have ever wanted for you. But Sam, if you ever hurt my daughter the way that Whitmore boy did, there will not be a place on this earth you can hide from me." "I understand, sir," Sam said seriously. "But I promise you that will never be necessary. Olivia is the best thing that has ever happened to me, and I will spend the rest of my life proving myself worthy of her." They decided on a November wedding, small and intimate, nothing like the grand affair that had been planned with Thomas. This time, Olivia wanted only family and close friends, people who truly cared about her happiness rather than social position. The months leading up to the wedding were some of the happiest of Olivia's life. She and Sam continued to work together with the horses, and Gerald began including Sam in more ranch business decisions, seeing his value not just as a horse trainer but as a potential partner. Sam's skill with horses had increased the ranch's reputation throughout the territory, and buyers were coming from as far as Denver to purchase Morrison horses. In late October, a week before the wedding, a stranger rode into the ranch. Olivia was in the kitchen helping her mother prepare preserves when one of the ranch hands knocked on the door. "Miss Olivia, there is a man here asking to see you. Says his name is Thomas Whitmore." Olivia nearly dropped the jar she was holding. Catherine grabbed it before it could fall and shatter on the floor. "Thomas," Olivia repeated, her voice weak. "He is here." "Sam is with him now," the ranch hand said. "Out by the barn. Your pa is there too, but the man is asking specifically for you." Olivia's first instinct was to refuse, to send word that she had nothing to say to Thomas Whitmore. But another part of her wanted to face him, to look him in the eye and show him that she had survived his betrayal and was now happier than she had ever been. "I will come," she said, untying her apron. Catherine looked worried but did not try to stop her. Olivia walked out to the barn with her heart pounding. She saw a small group gathered near the main corral. Her father stood with his arms crossed, his face thunderous. Sam was beside him, one hand resting on his hip near where his revolver would be if he were wearing it. And there, looking travel-worn and haggard, was Thomas Whitmore. Thomas's eyes lit up when he saw Olivia approaching. "Olivia, thank God. I need to talk to you." "You have nothing to say that I want to hear," Olivia said coldly, stopping several feet away. She was gratified that her voice did not shake. "Please just listen," Thomas said desperately. He looked terrible, his expensive clothes dirty and worn, his face gaunt. "I made a terrible mistake. I panicked. I had debts and I was scared and I ran. But I have regretted it every day since. I came back to make things right, to beg your forgiveness." "Make things right," Olivia repeated incredulously. "You humiliated me in front of the entire town. You left me standing at the altar in my mother's wedding dress, and now you think you can just ride back in and ask for forgiveness." "I know I do not deserve it," Thomas said, taking a step toward her. Sam immediately moved forward, placing himself between Thomas and Olivia. Thomas scowled at him. "Who is this, my fiancé?" Olivia said clearly. "Samuel Xavier. We are getting married next week." The color drained from Thomas's face. "What? No. Olivia, you cannot be serious. You barely know this man. What is he, some ranch hand? You were supposed to marry me." "You gave up that right when you ran away," Sam said, his voice level but hard as iron. "Olivia has moved on. I suggest you do the same." "This is none of your business, Cowboy," Thomas snapped. "Olivia and I had an understanding. We were supposed to build a life together." "You destroyed that understanding when you proved yourself a coward," Gerald said. My daughter deserves better than you, Whitmore. She has found better. Now get off my land before I have you thrown off." Thomas looked desperately at Olivia. "Tell them, Olivia. Tell them that what we had was real. Tell them you still love me." Olivia took a deep breath and looked Thomas directly in the eyes. "What we had was built on lies. You wanted my father's money and nothing more. You never truly loved me, and I am not sure I ever truly loved you either. I was in love with the idea of marriage, of a future, but not with you. Sam has shown me what real love looks like. It looks like showing up every day. It looks like patience and respect and honesty. You could never give me those things." "I can change," Thomas insisted. "Give me another chance." "No," Olivia said firmly. "I gave you my trust once and you threw it away. I will not make that mistake again. My answer is no, Thomas. It will always be no. Please leave." Thomas stood there for a long moment, seeming to finally realize that he had lost her for good. His expression cycled through anger, grief, and finally resignation. "I hope you will be happy then," he said bitterly. "I hope this cowboy can give you everything you think you deserve." "He already has," Olivia said softly. "He has given me honesty and loyalty and love. That is everything I need." Thomas turned and walked back to his horse, mounting heavily. He rode out without another word, disappearing down the ranch road. Olivia watched him go and felt nothing but relief. The ghost of her past was finally laid to rest. Sam turned to her immediately, his hands gentle on her shoulders. "Are you all right?" "I am more than all right," Olivia said, leaning into his embrace. "I am finally free. He has no hold on me anymore." Gerald cleared his throat. "Well handled, daughter. I am proud of you." The week before the wedding passed quickly. Olivia was nervous but excited, so different from how she had felt before the wedding that never was. This time, she was not wearing her mother's dress. Catherine had helped her make a new one, a simple but elegant gown of cream-colored silk with delicate lace at the collar and cuffs. It was not as elaborate as the dress Thomas had wanted her to wear, but it was hers, chosen for a wedding that would actually happen. The ceremony was held at the ranch rather than in town, in the meadow where Sam had first told her he was falling in love with her. The leaves were turning gold and red, and the air was crisp with the promise of winter. Only about 30 people attended, all close friends and family. Olivia walked down the makeshift aisle on her father's arm, but her eyes were only for Sam. He stood waiting for her in his best suit, his dark hair neatly combed, his eyes shining with love and joy. When she reached him, he took her hands in his, and the smile he gave her was so full of happiness that Olivia felt her own eyes fill with tears. The ceremony was simple and heartfelt. They exchanged vows that they had written themselves, promising to stand by each other through all of life's challenges and joys. When the preacher finally pronounced them husband and wife, Sam kissed her tenderly, and the small gathering erupted in applause and cheers. The celebration afterward was joyful and relaxed. They ate and danced and laughed under the autumn sky. Olivia's mother cried happy tears, and her father made a toast welcoming Sam officially into the family. Sam's few friends from the other ranches in the area where he had worked offered their congratulations and well wishes. As the sun began to set, Sam and Olivia slipped away from the party. Sam had fixed up the old foreman's cabin at the far edge of the Morrison property, turning it into a cozy home for them to start their married life. It was small but comfortable, with a wood stove for cooking and heat, a comfortable bed that Sam had built himself, and windows that looked out toward the mountains. "Welcome home, Mrs. Xavier," Sam said, sweeping Olivia up into his arms and carrying her over the threshold. Olivia laughed, wrapping her arms around his neck. "I still cannot believe this is real, that we are actually married." "Believe it," Sam said, setting her gently on her feet. You are stuck with me now. I cannot think of anywhere I would rather be stuck, Olivia replied. That night, as they lay together in their marriage bed, wrapped in each other's arms, Olivia marveled at how much her life had changed in just 6 months. She had gone from the depths of humiliation and despair to a happiness she had never imagined possible. Thomas leaving her at the altar had seemed like the end of her world, but it had actually been the beginning of something far better. "What are you thinking about?" Sam asked softly, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her shoulder. "About how grateful I am that Thomas ran away," Olivia said. "I know that sounds strange, but if he had married me, I would have been trapped in a loveless marriage with a coward. Instead, I found you." Sam pressed a kiss to the top of her head. "His loss was definitely my blessing. You are the best thing that has ever happened to me, Olivia. I promise I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret choosing me." "I could never regret this," Olivia said, tilting her face up to kiss him. "Never." They settled into married life easily. Olivia discovered that being married to Sam was nothing like she had imagined marriage to Thomas would be. With Sam, there was equality and partnership. They made decisions together, worked together, and supported each other's dreams. Sam continued to work with the horses, and Olivia worked alongside him, discovering a real talent for training. Together, they began to build a reputation that spread beyond the Morrison ranch. By the following spring, Gerald offered Sam a partnership in the ranch. Sam would oversee all the horse training and breeding operations, with a percentage of the profits. It was an incredible opportunity, one that would give Sam and Olivia real financial security. Sam accepted gratefully, and they began making plans to expand the horse operation. In June of 1877, exactly 1 year after the day she was left at the altar, Olivia discovered she was pregnant. She told Sam one evening as they sat together on the porch of their cabin, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. "I am going to have a baby," she said simply. Sam's head whipped around so fast she worried he might hurt his neck. "A baby, truly, truly," Olivia confirmed, unable to keep the smile from her face. "In February, the doctor thinks." Sam let out a shout of pure joy and lifted her up, spinning her around just as he had the night he proposed. "We are going to be parents. Olivia, this is the best news I have ever heard." Over the next months, as Olivia's belly swelled with their child, Sam was attentive and loving. He insisted she not overwork herself, though Olivia continued to help with the gentler horses well into her pregnancy. They spent the evenings planning for the baby, adding a cradle to their cabin that Sam built with his own hands, and discussing names. In February of 1878, during a snowstorm that blanketed Golden in white, Olivia gave birth to a healthy baby boy. They named him James Gerald Xavier, after Sam's father and Olivia's. He had dark hair like his father and hazel eyes like his mother, and Sam held him with such tenderness and wonder that Olivia fell in love with her husband all over again. "He is perfect," Sam whispered, cradling the tiny baby against his chest, "just like his mother." "He has your nose," Olivia said with a tired smile. "Poor kid," Sam joked, then pressed a kiss to the baby's forehead. "Thank you, Olivia. Thank you for our son, for our life, for everything." James was a happy, healthy baby who rarely fussed. Sam was a devoted father, helping with night feedings and diaper changes without complaint. Watching him with their son, Olivia sometimes thought back to that terrible day at the church and how devastated she had been. She had thought her life was over, that she would never recover from the humiliation. But in truth, that day had been a gift. It had freed her from a man who would have made her miserable and led her to a man who cherished her. As the years passed, Sam and Olivia built a successful horse breeding operation that became renowned throughout Colorado and beyond. They added 3 more children to their family: a daughter named Sarah in 1880, another son named David in 1882, and finally another daughter named Catherine, named after Olivia's mother, in 1885. Their cabin was expanded into a proper house, still on Morrison land but distinctly their own. It was filled with the sounds of children's laughter, with warmth and love and the kind of deep contentment that comes from a life well lived. Gerald Morrison lived to see all 4 of his grandchildren born, and he often said that Sam was the son he never had. When Gerald passed in 1890, he left the entire ranch to Olivia and Sam jointly, knowing it would be in good hands. Catherine lived another 10 years after her husband, spending her days doting on her grandchildren and teaching them to bake and garden. Sam's reputation as a horse trainer spread far beyond Colorado. He was sought after by ranchers and even some army officers who wanted him to train cavalry horses. But Sam never forgot where he came from or what mattered most. He always put his family first, and he never stopped treating Olivia with the same respect and love he had shown her from the very beginning. On their 20th wedding anniversary in 1896, Sam and Olivia took a trip to California, finally fulfilling Olivia's dream of seeing the ocean. They stood together on the beach, holding hands as they watched the waves crash against the shore. Their children were grown or nearly so. James was 18 and already showing his father's gift with horses. Sarah at 16 was engaged to a nice young man from a neighboring ranch. David at 14 was still figuring out what he wanted to do with his life. And little Catherine at 11 was already proving to be as strong-willed as her mother. "What are you thinking about?" Sam asked, echoing the question he had asked on their wedding night 20 years earlier. "About how far we have come," Olivia said. "About how that terrible day at the church led to all of this. I would not change a single thing about my life, Sam, not one single thing." "Neither would I," Sam said, pulling her close. "You took a chance on a drifter cowboy with nothing but his skills and his heart to offer. You made me the happiest man alive." "You gave me everything I ever wanted," Olivia replied. "A real partnership, real love, a beautiful family. You kept your promise, Sam. You have spent every day proving yourself worthy of me, though you were always worthy. From that very first moment on the church steps, you were everything Thomas never could be." They stood together as the sun set over the Pacific, 2 people who had found each other in the aftermath of heartbreak and built something beautiful. The cowboy and the woman left at the altar, proving that sometimes the greatest love stories begin not with perfect timing but with second chances and the courage to trust again. When they returned home to Colorado, they found their children and the ranch hands had organized a surprise anniversary party. The barn was decorated just as it had been for that dance, where Sam first told Olivia he was falling in love with her. Friends and family from all over the territory had come to celebrate. As Sam led Olivia onto the dance floor, she saw her life reflected in the faces around them. Her children, healthy and happy. The ranch, prosperous and well run. The community, full of people who respected and cared for them. And most of all, the man holding her in his arms who had kept every promise he ever made. "Dance with me, Mrs. Xavier," Sam said with a grin. "Always," Olivia replied. They danced late into the night, surrounded by love and laughter and the life they had built together. And if sometimes Olivia thought back to that June day in 1876, when she stood in her mother's dress waiting for a groom who never came, it was only with gratitude. Thomas's loss had indeed been Sam's blessing, and hers as well. The years continued to be kind to them. They watched their children grow and marry and have children of their own. James took over the horse breeding operation, expanding it even further with his father's guidance. Sarah married her young man and moved to a ranch in Wyoming, but she visited often with her growing family. David eventually discovered his passion was for medicine and became a doctor in Denver, though he always came home to Golden for holidays. Catherine, true to her independent spirit, became a teacher and opened a school for ranch children throughout the county. Sam and Olivia grew old together, their hair turning gray, their faces gaining lines from years of laughter and hard work. But their love never dimmed. If anything, it grew stronger with each passing year, deepened by shared experiences and mutual respect. On a warm summer evening in 1916, 40 years after that fateful day at the church, Sam and Olivia sat together on the porch of their home. They were both in their 60s now, their children grown and scattered but close in heart. Grandchildren played in the yard, their shouts and laughter echoing across the property. "You remember the first thing I ever said to you?" Sam asked, holding Olivia's hand as they watched the children play. "You asked if I was hurt," Olivia said with a smile. "Right after you caught me on the church steps. I took one look at you in that wedding dress, with tears streaming down your face, and I thought you were the most beautiful thing I had ever seen," Sam admitted. "Even crying and heartbroken, you were magnificent. I wanted to take away your pain right then." "You did," Olivia said softly, squeezing his hand. "Not right away, but gradually you healed my broken heart. You showed me what real love looks like. Patient, consistent, honest love. You healed me too," Sam said. "I was drifting before I met you, running from the pain of losing my family. You gave me a reason to stop running, a reason to build something permanent and lasting. You gave me a home, Olivia, not just this house or this ranch, but a real home in your heart." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the sunset paint the Colorado sky in brilliant colors. After all these years, they did not always need words. They understood each other in the way that only people who have lived a lifetime together can. "His loss really was your blessing," Olivia said suddenly. "And mine. If Thomas had been a better man, we never would have found each other." "Then I suppose I should thank him," Sam said with a slight grin, "though I never want to see the man again." Olivia laughed, the sound as bright and lovely as it had been 40 years earlier. "I wonder whatever happened to him." "Does it matter?" Sam asked. "No," Olivia admitted. "It does not matter at all. They lived many more happy years together, watching their family grow and flourish." The Xavier name became synonymous with quality horses throughout the West, and the ranch prospered under their stewardship. But more than any material success, what mattered most was the love that flowed through their family, the legacy of kindness and respect that Sam and Olivia had built together. When Sam finally passed in 1925 at the age of 73, surrounded by his wife, children, and grandchildren, his last words were, "I love you, Olivia. Thank you for saying yes." Olivia held his hand as he took his last breath, tears streaming down her face but grateful for every single day they had shared. She lived another 5 years, spending her time with her family and tending the gardens she and Sam had planted together. She told stories about their early days to anyone who would listen, about a cowboy who caught a bride left at the altar, and how they built a love story for the ages. When she joined Sam in 1930, the entire community mourned. The church in Golden was packed with people whose lives had been touched by the Xaviers. Their children spoke about parents who had shown them what true partnership looked like, who had loved each other through good times and bad, who had built something beautiful out of heartbreak and second chances. They were buried together in the cemetery outside Golden, their graves marked by a simple stone that read Samuel and Olivia Xavier. His loss was her blessing, and together they found everything. Flowers bloomed around their grave every spring, planted by children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren who knew the story of how their family began. The ranch continued for generations, each successive Xavier adding their own chapter to the story, while honoring the foundation that Sam and Olivia had laid. The old foreman's cabin, where they had spent their first years of marriage, was preserved as a family museum of sorts, filled with mementos of their life together. And sometimes, on quiet summer evenings, family members would gather on the porch of the big house that Sam had built, watching the sun set over the same mountains that Sam and Olivia had watched, and they would tell the story again. The story of a woman left at the altar in her mother's dress, and a cowboy who caught her when she fell and then spent the rest of his life making sure she never fell again. A story of heartbreak transformed into hope, of trust rebuilt, and of a love that lasted long after both lovers had gone. It was a story that reminded them all that sometimes the worst moments of our lives are actually doorways to the best moments we have yet to experience. That endings are sometimes just beginnings in disguise. And that real love, the kind worth having, is not about grand gestures or perfect timing, but about showing up every single day with honesty, patience, and respect. Thomas Whitmore had run away from his responsibilities and broken Olivia's heart, but in doing so, he had set her free to find something infinitely better. Samuel Xavier had been passing through Golden on his way to somewhere else, but he had stopped and stayed because he recognized something precious when he saw it. Together, they had built a legacy that lasted far beyond their own lifetimes, a legacy of love and family and the courage to trust again after betrayal. And if on certain spring mornings, when the light hit the mountains just right and the wildflowers were blooming in the meadow where they were married, some family members swore they could see two figures walking hand in hand through the golden grass. Well, nobody questioned it too much. Because Sam and Olivia's love had been the kind that transcended time and death, the kind that became part of the very land they had loved and worked together. They had started with nothing but hope and determination, and they had built everything. And their story, passed down through generations, continued to inspire and comfort long after the last person who had actually known them was gone. It all started with a moment of terrible pain and public humiliation. It transformed into a chance encounter on church steps, where a kind cowboy caught a falling woman and saw not her shame but her strength. It grew into friendship, then love, then a partnership that weathered every storm and celebrated every joy. And it ended, decades later, with two people who had lived fully and loved completely, leaving behind a family and a legacy that would endure. That was the true story of Samuel Xavier and Olivia Morrison Xavier, the cowboy and the bride left at the altar, who found in each other everything they had ever hoped for and more than they had ever dreamed possible. It was a story of the Wild West, but more than that, it was a story of the human heart's incredible capacity to heal, to trust again, and to love even more deeply the second time around.